right, so what I want to look at next is I want to give you 8 solid reasons why you need to have a dedicated sourcer on your recruitment team. And just to highlight something here is that this is relevant for agency teams. So if you're sitting in the third-party space, it's always great to have a sourcer on your team, as well as for any internal talent acquisition teams. A sourcer is definitely something that you should be looking at. So let's have a look at our first reason. And the first reason is one of my favorites, and that is because the competition for talent just went global. And as we know, thanks to the pandemic, thanks to COVID, it now doesn't really matter in every single situation where your candidates or your talent is sitting. We're finding a lot of talent that are sitting in their own countries, working remotely for international organizations. Now, why you need a sourcer for this is because a sourcer will know how to go and search on the internet. So when I run my training sessions, I always start with a question that says, where are you currently finding your best talent? And everyone turns to me and says, LinkedIn and local job boards. Now, a sourcer is someone who potentially won't need to have subscriptions to local job boards, and they are very comfortable searching across the whole internet for the best candidates. And if you can do that, it doesn't matter where the talent sits. So if you're not reliant on things like licenses, like job boards, and you know how to use the internet really well, you can find talent in the most obscure places. Trust me, this is something that I do on a freelance basis. So this is going to be happening more and more, that we are going to be tasked with finding candidates that are not in our geographies, and we need to know how to do that. A sourcer will be able to do that. The second thing is that most people who are qualified for your job and who could really make an impact on the people that you want to get on board are not actually seeking a new job at the moment. So we need to be able to have really persuasive skills in order to persuade them to leave a job that they're quite happy in. But also we need to be able to find them first, because these are the people that are not putting themselves onto job boards or not advertising themselves that they're open to work on any other platforms. So another thing around this is that if you're relying on posting adverts, or the spray and pray approach as I like to refer to it, is that only 30% of people are actually going to view those adverts or see them. That's not even applied to them. That's just to see the adverts. So often what we're finding is that the best candidates for the role that you are actually recruiting for at the moment are not on the market, so they're not looking. We have to find them, and we have to tell them about this absolutely amazing opportunity. And that is where a sourcer is going to add value, as they will know where to go and find the right talent. Another good reason is because passive talent is more likely to make an impact. So if you bring someone into the interview process who potentially wasn't looking, they didn't apply for the job themselves, they feel that maybe they have something to prove here. These people are often better, not every case, not every scenario, but they are better hires because they have come into the organization through a different route. They feel quite excited that they've been headhunted, they've got great skills, and they've got a lot of value to add. So these people can actually work up to 120% are more likely to make an impact within their new organization. So the fourth reason is because HR professionals say that direct sourcing actually cuts their recruitment costs. So this is coming from agencies, and it's coming from internal talent acquisition teams. And the reason is that you're not paying for adverts, and adverts can be expensive. You're not paying for subscriptions, monthly subscriptions or licenses. If you can actually go and find the candidates using the whole internet across different platforms, it's actually not going to cost you anything. At the end of the day, what you want to be aiming for is that you want to be able to send an email to these candidates. It's an activity that you do all day, every day. So it shouldn't be something that costs you a lot of money to go and identify the best talent and to be able to reach out to them. There are far more expensive ways of actually recruiting, and a lot more expensive ways to go and advertise what you are looking for. Now, the nice thing about having a skilled sourcer on your teams as well is that they can become almost like a community lead. So they can focus on building a network or a community in a niche. So this is where I really recommend that recruiters and agency specialize in a certain niche. And that niche could be an industry. So it could be in the finance space, the tech space, the supply chain space. Or it could be a geography. It could be I'm recruiting in the UK, or I'm recruiting in California, or whatever it might be. Also, your niche could be a level. So you could say, I'm focusing on C-suite individuals. So your sourcer can then go and focus on that niche for you, and they can build a community or a network or establish a pipeline of viable candidates for you. Then what happens when the roles come in from the clients? The sourcer has already got a pool of candidates that they're keeping warm, they've already engaged with, they interacted with, and they can reach out to those individuals and say, right, the time has come, we've got the perfect position or opportunity for you. So it's definitely something to think about, because this is being a much more strategic approach to talent by getting them into a community as opposed to being reactional. And by reactional, I mean you're waiting for the role to come into your inbox and then you only start looking for the talent. It's much easier to anticipate what's coming down the line and start building a talent pipeline. This is something that I see quite often too, as I see a lot of 360 recruiters spending a lot of time doing a whole lot of different tasks. So you're juggling a whole lot of balls. There's a lot of balls in the air, from creating new business to finding the talent to walking talents through interview process to closing deals. The problem is that with the amount of roles that I'm seeing at the moment, is that this is almost too much. I'm seeing a lot of burnout happening. I'm seeing a whole lot of people who are just not coping. So a sourcer could be able to relieve the pressure on that 360 recruiter that they don't need to spend so much time looking for the talent. The sourcer can literally be feeding talent to them, take a bit of pressure off them, and then it actually frees up the recruiter to take maybe more of an account manager, customer success role. So what that means is that they're nurturing the relationship with the client and they are finishing off the process. It's very much a role that if you've got these two people working together, it's a good partnership, there's lots of trust, there's lots of efficiencies, that it works incredibly well. Right, so the next reason why you need a sourcer is that sourcing is going to really help to improve your employer brand. Because again, going back to the sourcer almost being like a community leader, building talent pipelines, building networks, building community, your brand will get out there in much more, in much more of a personable way, and will reach a far greater audience. And also it will be more of like a human touch, which is really important. It's all about being human. So if you have this person on your team, it's the brand can actually get right in front of people. It's not just something that's going to be held at like an arm's length away from individuals. And then my final reason is that referrals within an organization are wonderful. They're a great way to growth hack an organization. They are really, really, really something that I encourage. However, referrals do not always help your diversity stats, because people tend to refer people who look like them and who sound like them. But if you have someone on your team who's not only targeting the best talent, but also has maybe a KPI or a goal to improve the DE&I, diversity, equality, and inclusion of the candidates, then diversity sourcing is a much better play in order to be able to bring diverse candidates into your organization. So just something to think about.